Kamala Harris has delivered her first major speech since losing the presidential election to Donald Trump back in November. In San Francisco last night, she sharply criticized Trump as he marked 100 days in office.
This country is ours. It doesn't belong to whoever is in the White House. It belongs to you. It belongs to us. It belongs to we, the people.
Harris called Trump's tariffs the greatest man-made economic crisis in modern presidential history and said they are clearly inviting a recession. Steve Futterman was listening in, and he's live in Los Angeles this morning. What are some of the other key messages from that speech, Steve, and some of the things that you took away from it last night?
Well, good morning, Heather. You know, before last November's election, Kamala Harris may have dreamed that this would be the week she was celebrating her 100th day at the White House. Instead, last night, she was talking in very critical terms about the man who beat her, Donald Trump, very critical of the administration in many, many different areas. She actually, at one point, talked about Donald Trump and his administration violating American ideals. Take a listen to this clip.
Of Americans who are speaking out to say it is not okay to violate court orders. Not okay. Saying it is not okay to detain and disappear American citizens or anyone without due process.
This is one of the things that Trump's opponents have been focusing on, these what they say are violations of the Constitution, these things still being battled out in court. Now, at one point, she talked about Donald Trump invoking a feeling of fear across the nation. And she said the people who oppose Donald Trump, they can rise and counter that fear with what she called courage.
They are counting on the notion that if they make some people afraid, it will have a chilling effect on others. But what they're overlooking, what they have overlooked, is that fear is not the only thing that's contagious. Courage is contagious.
And she also talked about, as you mentioned, the tariffs, calling them the worst man-made disaster in presidential history. She said that those tariffs have, at this point, made Americans lose jobs, made Americans lose on their retirement funds that they've spent decades building up. And she said it's hurt businesses large and small. So it was a very strong, very broad attack on the Trump administration.
And what is your thinking, Steve, in terms of her coming forward to make this big public speech? What does it signal about her future and whether she might make another run for president in 2028?
Well, she's always in the discussion right now. I have to be fair about it. When you talk to Democrats, the names you hear right now, for the most part, are people like Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, who many people feel she should have picked as her VP partner last year. Also, Governor Pritzker of Illinois. He has been coming out very strong, and he has made it clear he is going to be a voice. Kamala Harris is in the discussion, but she's not being talked about that much right now. You know, Heather, we've been talking about the conclave coming up last week. So hard to predict who's going to be the top Democrat in 3 years. That old line about you go in a pope and you come out a cardinal for the conclave. Well, when you're ahead 3 years before the nominating convention, often you're not even the discussion when the convention takes place. So she's being talked about more for being a possible candidate for governor of California. Gavin Newsom, the current governor, who himself could be a presidential candidate. He is term limited. He cannot run for a third term. So that's what most people feel is possibly Kamala Harris's future office challenge in the future.
Such a good analogy, Steve, and such a timely one. Thank you very much, and thanks for the reporting.
Thanks,
Steve Futterman from Los Angeles this morning.